The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, David Sisboomba, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6.
You're off the IR, but not 100%.
Yeah, what did you guys say yesterday?
We definitely said you were faking it. No, we didn't, did we?
No,
we said we gave you credit for battling through the first 2 days.
Did
of the
you?
week. Yeah.
Because I got a few texts on my social.
So they weren't texts, they were tweets.
There's tweets. Yeah. Like, where are you?
Yeah, this show sucks. Yeah.
No, not the show sucks.
Okay. Yeah.
You're soft. You're soft. What do you got? A headache? A tummy ache?
Much like Austin Matthews.
Yes.
He played game 1, game 2. Mace, there's game 3 got a little sketchy.
But I woke up and I read that today.
And
You're up.
I'm like, I don't care if I come and throw up a lung on national television. I'm going to work.
I would care about that. I don't want to get sick for a long weekend. So
Listen, I can carry the verbal weight today. I'll do all the talking. Here's me filling time, trying to buy some time.
No, we'll be a lot better than that.
Yeah, we'll be good. We got a great guest today, Kip.
Great guest, loaded. Gord Stellick will join us in about 10 minutes. Figure out what's going on. Coaching news coming this week for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
what's going on?
Yeah, what is going on? That's a great question.
Why is it? I would have sworn we were
Thursday.
going to have this by
I think a ton behind the scenes is going on. And I think there's a race right now.
A race for Berube.
Fill spots.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't feel like it's going to be clean. Like Berube was like, I want to be there. They want me. Let's negotiate the contract. Bing, bang, boom. This feels like it's not like that.
So is this the Leafs not able to lock in their guy as of yet? Or is this Brad Treliving, who's notoriously known for doing his due diligence and a thorough inquiry on finding a coach? How many interviews have gone on? Is there any more planning?
It feels, and I have no idea, but it feels like everyone kind of wants Berube. He has leverage over all of them because of that. And it makes sense when you're a UFA to hear the pitch of these other teams and what money is offered and sort of authority and all the rest, what's coming. So maybe it takes time to interview with every team. Is that unreasonable?
Not at all. Not at all.
I just wonder where New Jersey is in all of this when it comes to looking for a head coach. I get the sense that there's some organizations that have no problem, whatever it takes to get a good head coach. That could mean spending between $3, $4, $5 million a year on a coach.
Yeah.
And then there's some organizations that just can't go there, don't want to go there. That's not what we're budgeted for.
Mm-hmm. And I guess...
And New Jersey, I think, has the means to go $4 or $5 million.
I also know
Toronto does. I think Seattle is willing to spend on a guy that they like.
Yeah. I also know New Jersey. They're a part of that group. Is it the Fenway Sports Group or it's
no. It's not Fenway. Fenway's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
It's Harris.
Yeah,
Harris.
He has the
76ers.
New Jersey
and now the Washington
Commanders.
And
maybe a European kick hockey team too.
a football team?
A footy team.
I don't know what team it would be.
But anyway, they are a very analytics-focused, forward-thinking organization. That group is.
Very forward.
So
is that Craig Berube?
Well, to me, that's more Sheldon Keefe than Craig Berube. But I don't know. But I'm just assuming based on the way I hear Berube talk about hockey, he's not going to be like, well, the Corsi, that's much more likely to be Sheldon, isn't it?
Was that overplayed for the Leafs all these years?
Yeah.
With Kyle Dubas and analytics, we never really saw many decisions based on sheer numbers.
But everyone, look at their deadlines the last few years. Like it was like Chari and Shen and McCabe.
But it took them a long time to get there.
For sure it did. There's no doubt that the early days were like, maybe Patan and Mulligan can fix it.
How about more Janssen again?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like there was sort of a change in his philosophy.
But I don't even think that was analytics as much as he believed that in his philosophy, speed and skill would work eventually over this like brawn and toughness. But that wasn't like possession-based metric driven decision
Yeah.
making.
So
And I'm just wondering if Craig Berube, even if he loves the thought of being less than an hour away from his home in Philadelphia, I can't work under those circumstances. I'm a gut guy. I want to coach with my gut feeling, not what your analytics department's telling me.
Yeah. You know, I
wonder
think
if that factors in.
a big complaint of the people I know who work in analytics for NHL teams is that you can provide them with all the stuff in the world, but if the coach doesn't care, which I would say most of them still don't entirely, like 10 out of the 32 will really consider it and read all the information, whatever. And the next 10 might go, what do you got?
10
Okay.
of the 32, that's
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 players need to get going here
Yeah.
to talk.
And
Who
then
do you think the 10 teams
the
are?
middle 10 go, okay, if you got something really good, tell me. If you don't, I don't want to hear it. And then there's 10 or 12 guys that just throw it in the bin.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Berube is a bin man?
I would be speculation to make that claim, but yes, I do. Well, I'm speculating.
He's crumpling it up. Kobe.
Yeah.
I got to think too in his interviews, he's making that pretty clear to everybody that if you're going to come in, you're going to spend this money on me, you're giving me a
I make the decision.
fairly long-term deal here, then don't try to jam stuff down my throat here.
Yeah. Well, that's, you can negotiate for different things when you're trying to get hired, and it's not all money. And some of it is who has the say on certain things and who do I have to answer to. I'm sure he would not like to answer to the numbers guys as much.
Also, in 20
Maybe I'm
minutes, Ed Jovanovski will join us, former NHL defenseman, help us tee up Boston and the Panthers. The series extending.
A lot happening.
Lots happening.
Can I tell you guys a fun fact on that? Do you want to do a full host-like
and
thing?
just and then at the top of the hour, Rob Brown, we've had him on before, does a great job as an Oiler analyst for Ched out there. He'll join us at the top of the hour, and then Adam Graves to kind of top us off with Rangers Hurricanes as well. So fantastic lineup.
Three former really good NHLers right there.
Yes.
So there you go.
That's awesome.
Really good. All right, go.
So I've been covering that Florida series. They had the 2 goaltender interference calls. So I looked into goalie interference calls in the playoffs. There's been 5 goalie interference challenges. All 5 involve Florida.
Really?
And there are guys just falling on the goalie.
Oh, yeah, well, the 2 with Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Where they challenged
I
both.
think 3 against Tampa and then 2 against Boston. But also their goalie is dramatic and drops his stick and does the whole thing. So Florida's been involved in all 5. I wrote about it today on Sportsnet. But
Okay, so 3 in the opposite, and then 2 on
they've
Bobrovsky.
actually I think it's the opposite. I think it's 3 against Bobrovsky and 2 offensively. But they got the call every time that they wanted. The first time, second time, third time, fourth time. The only time they didn't was the one they should have got the call,
The most egregious one.
where they let McAvoy's goal stand when
Yes.
Heinen took out his skate.
Yeah.
So they almost got every call, and that was the one game they lost. They won the other 4 games, and then they lost the one where they didn't get the call. So pivotal moments. But I wrote about how that's a testament to the way Florida plays. They're in the crease. They're around there. They're falling on people right there. They get to those areas, and their goalie's a little dramatic, but they defend hard too. So I think it speaks to the way they play that they're always in the thick of it.
I wonder what how those numbers compare to the ones during the regular season. Would they have led in crease crashing?
That is a unbelievably good question that I wish I had looked into. I
should be your stat guy or something.
Well, you know what's funny is, so I took that thesis that, okay, Florida is a physical team and they've been involved in 5 goalie interference challenges in 2 rounds. I wonder how many the Toronto Maple Leafs have been involved in since Marner and Matthews were in the league, 8 years of whatever. And I actually just got the answer. Thank you to Richard Choi in our stats department. So they've had 7. They've been involved in 7 over the last 8 years. Florida's been 5 this year. So I maybe that tells you they're not as around the crease as much.
No, they like to score their goals from.
I mean, that's just such an easy thing to say.
For sure.
It's
It
like the
might mean
most
nothing.
confirmation bias thing ever.
For sure.
Or they don't ever go to the front of the net. I mean, you can say both sides of that for sure. For sure.
I would have to look into how they've all played out in terms of if it was for or against them. But
it's interesting.
yeah,
Like, I got to think there was a few with Bertuzzi. That guy goes to the net. That guy's around the blue paint a lot.
I got work to do.
Bunting,
I got to follow up on this.
Bunting for sure.
See if my goaltender interference theory holds up. He's a fall on the goalie. The most egregious is Matthew Tkachuk in the first round against Tampa Bay. He's skating by Vasilevsky and someone like touches him and he was like, "Oh no, the goalie!" and like fell on top of Vasilevsky and Bennett shot him.
I mean, the way these, I know we're going to get Gordo here in a second, but the way these series are shaping up, it's a thing of beauty. Because it started where there was a couple 3-1s, the Rangers get out to the 3-0 and you're kind of concerned that it might be a quick second round. But now you got game 6, got game 6 in the other series. It's great. I'm fired up about this round.
All right, let's bring him in. We know him best as Toronto Maple Leaf analyst for Sportsnet 590, former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Our number one guest ever on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Wait, Gordo, you there?
I'm here. Sorry, I just
Where are you? Costco?
I had lunch with Brian Burke, so just exiting and catching up and talking fond things about the show and the Leafs and hockey. So excuse any background ambiance.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you have to eat?
Oh, a bunch of chicken dishes. Brian ordered. He's part owner here of Moxie's. I'm not giving a plug. It's $2,000. He said he never's going to see back. He said guys like Shane Doan and Jerome McGill and that were partners. So he's been here for a while. And he claims he owns 2 urinals. That's his expression. So anyway, it was a good afternoon to talk hockey. I mean, they got a great PWHL final tomorrow night, right? Like a game 5 going on. So that part's good as far as that gig goes. And otherwise, we're chatting about what a great second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It is. And we'll get into that, Gord. But as far as the coaching front, it's been a fairly quiet week. Are you surprised?
Not really. I mean, it's quiet, but it's not quiet. It's kind of like they're, let's face it, everyone, it's Todd McClellan or Craig Berube. So, and nowadays, it's even like Craig Berube interviewing in Winnipeg, and you got to think they've got their coach in mind already. And Chicago Blackhawks, when they were looking for a general manager, they cast the net wide and they stayed with Kyle Davidson, who was the guy already there. So I don't know how much his appearances. I don't know if that's the right word, but I guess you want to check out what other options there are. So there's one of two very experienced, very competent guys. If I was betting, I would say it'd be Craig Berube. There's no rush, but you also can't let it drag out forever. I think, obviously, this is the top job, right? So other hires, whether, Berube or McClellan are candidates elsewhere, which I'm sure they both are waiting for the Toronto news.
Gord, I don't know that you're going to get much out of this, but does how Boston looks against Florida change anything about how you feel about the Leafs from round one? They seem to be going down without much of a fight there, but fought back last game to get a win. Has anything changed for you in your perception of the Leafs, given what their opponent looks like in round 2?
Yeah, Justin, it's the same as we talked about through that series. The Bruins could be had. I mean, the Bruins were right for the taking, and that's not any disrespect. I mean, to lose the kind of players they have and still maintain, staying where they are. And, that cap era about hometown discounts is over with Charlie McAvoy and David Pasternak and that. So they've had problems there. And, it's just disappointing. It's, it was dealt with a little bit at the press conference with the 3 guys, Keith Pelley and Brendan Shanahan and Brad Treliving. There's just too many years losing series like this. And this isn't the same Boston team that they lost in Game 7, 5-6 years ago. This isn't as good a Boston team. So I haven't changed it. Jeremy Swayman played great in goal. There's a lot of, you can look at certain things. Their depth guys got goals. Leafs took not great penalties. Special teams killed them, but they should be playing now. No question. I felt that back then. I went over the top on your show about it. I really believed in it. So anyway, I don't feel any different. And the other part, I feel like, wow, the Florida Panthers are what we thought the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be. And that's kind of another dip of disappointment on top of not being in the second round of the playoffs, that another team seems to have maybe developed more fully from doing a bit of rebuild than the Maple Leafs did, say, 7 years ago.
We're talking to Gord Stellick, Toronto Maple Leaf analyst for Sportsnet 590, former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, Gord, a new coach, Berube, McClelland, who knows? But what would be the top priority for a coach to come in now for the Leafs? Because there's a specialty teams, there's defensive structure, there could be squeezing more out of your frontline guys or your bottom six. What do you think the number one look has to have at the top of the list here for a new coach?
Yeah, so, Kippy, and it's funny, I remember years ago, your buddy Rick Tocchet was in doing some media stuff, and we went out for a bite after, the three of us, and I just think about what he did in Vancouver, because it's not a slight against anybody else. And I don't like the overused word culture at times, but it really does apply here. And I think it started applying when the end of season presser acknowledged that the process isn't working and you can't keep parroting that line out and educating Leaf fans about what they should be seeing when they really don't see it. So I like that about what the expectations are. And I think, what I think Keith Pelly saying, the fans deserve a winner. Not that Sheldon Keefe, obviously, he didn't coach, not to be a winner. There were times when he had to walk back some criticism. And I just think that's a part of what a new coach will have a little bit more of a free rein to the whole accountability thing. Okay. So that's the part on the coach thing. The other part, the reality is they're not as good a team as they were 2-3 years ago. That doesn't mean you can't go deeper in the playoffs. Okay. But there is a bit of not a retool, but some of the younger players, which could be a positive, being injected in the lineup. Easton Cowan just had a great series, in the OHL with London. He's not going to be the savior next year, but just an element of that you need to inject those kind of players as much for salary cap reasons, being on entry-level contracts, as anything else.
Gord, not sure if you happen to hear the Rick Tocchet comments about his team and how they got passengers and they can't win with 12 guys and pretty hard stuff. In the playoffs, you don't hear coaches be so hard on their guys in the playoffs that often. Do you feel like that would make a difference in Toronto? Like, do you feel if it is Berube and he's a little harder on them, or, hey, maybe it's Rod Brindamore, do you feel like something like that would actually move the needle with the players?
Well, Kyper used to do that with me on the Sportsnet panel, Justin, whatever. And
look where I got you.
Yeah, I would wallow with another daunting siesta big meal, but then I would try to bounce back with a stronger paddle. I thought, it goes back. Jim Montgomery talking about Pasta. I'd expect more from him. Like Rick Tocchet said, hey, you guys write or you cover the game. Like what, what are you seeing? And so he just kind of said it afterwards. And I don't know. I just think you're stating the obvious. Yeah. And I'd like to think, first, as you guys know, being players, about a coach having a good read about what works or doesn't work, but also, hey, you know what? I would, if I want to be a winner, I'd want the coach to say that, because whichever guys are not doing it, they're affecting the other 14 guys that are doing it. And that doing it means simply giving the kind of effort, not being a passenger. So it's funny. So much media scrutiny, so much nowadays, the kid gloves crap. And I think that's been part of the problem about the Maple Leafs, that it's just been, oh, geez, they lost the playoffs. Too bad. But here's what, whatever. No, it should be something that hurts, something you want to build from, something that challenges you, and something that, challenges you to be better, challenges you to work harder, challenges you to do whatever is necessary to get to that next level.
The next level for them this summer, they've got 12 UFAs, Gord, and you look at who's coming back. We've talked about the big guys, and we talked to Tavares and Marner, and we know that those are conversations that are going to be had. Is there anyone on the back end that you feel like needs to come back to be a part of the solution? That is a bit of a sore spot for the Leafs every year, trying to find more defensemen to fill in at the deadline. Well,
needs is an interesting word. So I throw Joel Edmondson, that kind of thing out there. But then also there's others like, is a Chris Tanev maybe hypothetically interested? Like what else is here? I thought last year in getting Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi on one-year contracts, and ultimately what they did the end of the regular season in the playoffs was a perfect kind of fit that way. And so I'll throw that name out there. Just like I like the way he played. I like he's back. He's got some playoff success pedigree. Obviously, TJ Brody's time has come and gone. And, then Kippy and I, we've talked about it. And actually, I was texting Kippy a couple of weeks ago thinking of one of my Toronto Star articles, because Kippy now is like he's the Pierre Burton, of whatever the modern day for Canadian authors. So Justin, you write excellent stuff, but Kippy, he's got his pipe there, and he's got his jacket, his sweater with leather elbows,
unlimited elbow patches on the sweaters,
and an ascot and everything like that. But just get
on with it. Let's go.
Okay,
you're dripping right now.
We're talking about all these forwards, young forwards. Where the hell are the D? Like, where are any young D? Now we at least have a goalie in Toronto and Joe Wall, a young goalie. So that ends up being a problem. But then there's other guys you could fill with. And, and I thought Joel Edmondson was a great kind of guy to fill with.
Gord, you assume that the whole idea now is to go land a defenseman in free agency. But for that to happen, everybody's doing the math, saying, okay, the core four, someone has to go, free up the money. Marner, Tavares. If by chance nothing happens in September, October, and they're brought back, is there wiggle room of acceptance in Leaf Nation to start them in September, October for you?
Absolutely. I think the fact that there's an element of that they self-professed accountability is a start. That, okay, we got to get better. So it's not like, oh, this is great. Okay, I'll see you in April. Say, no, we got to get better. And the other part, Kippy, like John, no one landed a bigger free agent than John Tavares. And that July 1st, and you were one of the few people that brought up what happens in the cap world about a free agent, just, warning people about other things that maybe, don't make it as great in the big picture. And that's what's happened. That's no indictment of him at all. So there's no sexy D out there. Okay. It's not like, oh my goodness. Now maybe since I'm just talking about Berkey, if some reason the modern day Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer can make it in 1 year, like he did with Anaheim that year, would be different. But it's just the kind of, and one thing, Brad Treliving, I know you guys discussed it many times, in Calgary's had a pretty good history about, being involved in deals for defensemen and focusing on that. So yeah, it's got to be addressed. And there is no savior. There's no savior anywhere, because it's anything you do is another spice and just making incrementally positive moves.
Gord, go get some dessert with Berkey. Or did you have it already?
I got the souffle. It takes 15 minutes to get beat, so it's all good. And it's 4-3, so I got 2 more spoons, guys. Come on down, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks, pal.
Great stuff.
Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, take care.
All right, Gord Stellick. Do you know how close Pronger came to being a Leaf?
I do. It's heartbreaking, but I do know that.
Would that have been like near prime Pronger?
Do you know why he wasn't a Leaf?
I vaguely remember, but please enlighten me. Please break my heart all over again.
Yeah. A first rounder, I think Thomas Caberlet, and the Leafs and Edmonton asked for Alex Steen, and the Leafs wouldn't give up Steen.
Ouchie.
He ended up being a pretty good player.
Yeah, but then they traded him like a year later for Lee Stepniak.
Yeah, at least Stepniak.
Oh, that's a crucial detail.
Oopsies.
Oopsies.
That was Cliff Fletcher, right? They did that. That was like in between GMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that before Berkey?
And Thomas Caberlet, like
amazing player.
A great player, but not Pronger.
No.
Nobody's like Pronger.
Chris Pronger is one of the, 10 guys that influenced every shift. I mean, more than anyone else in hockey. He just was a bully and long and could play and think, and he was unbelievable.
Gordo made a good point there, but where is the young defense?
Oh, you mean Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren?
Is that the young defense?
I don't know. Is it Roni Hirvonen? Is he one? One of him and Topi Niemela are ID for sure.
It's just
people
they
like,
don't
you
have
should
a
know that.
No, but it's like they don't have a stud guy on defense coming up. I guess that Noah Chadwick and
I know
in
you
the WHL
traded a lot of assets away the last little while, but
not have one hit.
10 years to not develop one guy.
But I remember the draft year that the Leafs were like, we're just going to get all the biggest D on earth. And it was Keaton Middleton. And there was like all these guys that were like 6'8", and none of them could play. And like there has to be some balance between get a big D and get a guy who can play.
I'm not even.
I know you're not saying get a big guy.
It's just
but they
a
did
good
sign
guy.
Cade Weber this season. They traded Carolina to get his rights and signed him. So I don't know. He'll probably play in the American League next year, but maybe he's a guy one day. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, fellas.
It is weird though, because they have had development of their forwards. Like they have Nyes, coming up and contributing. I guess
Holmberg,
Pontus
McMahon.
Holmberg. Like these are guys that they've kind of drafted and developed or whatever. But
That blue line, though.
It's brutal.
Like, look at Carolina right now. We're going to get, we'll get into it later on in the show, but a lot of teams that win the cup are based on a incredibly solid
Dallas.
back end.
Look at Dallas.
Turns out Topi Niemel is the D-man, not Ronnie Hurd.
Yeah. I mean, gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between those two guys.
How big is he?
He's 1.83 meters high, according to Google. Does that help?
1.8. Why did they do that to us?
Just go
know.
6'1". Can we just go?
I need a ruler.
He's 6 feet tall and
Okay.
180.
5'11".
Yeah, so he's 5'11", 179.
I've referred to them as the Topies and the Ronies many times.
Yeah.
It sucks because, even every general manager, it feels like, has a hit on one guy that's like not outside the third round or outside the fourth round. Like you find a D-man, you find somebody that comes up and contributes, and they haven't really had it on the back end. So, anyways, good point by Gordo there.
All right, we'll take a quick break.
Yep.
And then we'll come back with Ed Jovanovski, former NHL defenseman, covering the Panthers for Bally. We'll get his thoughts on the Bruins and the Panthers, including Paul Maurice's antics at the podium.
All right.
Ed Jovanovski, when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Back here at the Real Kyper and Bourne show. How surprised are you that series is going back to Boston?
I thought they kind of looked dead in the water. You lose Brad Marchand. It was tough to see that they had a leg to stand on outside Jeremy Swayman, but they do have Jeremy Swayman, and that goes a long way. I mean, that guy has he been the best goalie in playoffs so far? I mean,
so the last couple of years, him and Allmark have been like lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, okay, like they're good, but how good are they really? And now you're understanding that run is no fluke.
No, they're legit.
They're legit. All right, let's welcome in Ed Jovanovski, who covers the Panthers on Bally Sports. How are you, pal?
I'm good, man. Everything good?
Okay, so I'll ask you the same question I just asked JB. Like, how surprised are you that this thing's going back to Boston?
Well, I tell you what, I think, most guys, obviously you want to finish this, at home. It hasn't been the story around the league, but it is what it is. Always tough, to win that fourth game. And I think if you look at the Panthers game in that situation, probably could be better. Maybe a little bit of disconnect kind of in that game. And listen, you're going back to Boston, and as much as you like to finish it on home ice, it didn't happen. But the team has been a very good road team. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Jovo, I was looking into goalie interference calls throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, and there's been 5. Florida's been involved in 5. Do you think that's a coincidence, or does it reflect just the way they play around the crease at both ends?
I think so. I mean, you look at Florida, especially we talk so much and you hear a lot about it around the league, how good they are on the forecheck and in that blue paint area. I think they're all instructed. They got a handful of guys, Bennett, Kachuk, these guys that like going in the front of the net, and you want pucks and traffic going there. And, unfortunately or fortunately, there's been, a couple of those incidents where it went their way and it didn't. But it's one of those areas, I think as you both know, it's one of the areas where goals are scored in the league. It's a high traffic area and you want bodies there. And, and sometimes, things don't go your way, and they do. But you're going to see Florida continually kind of go into that blue paint area, which makes them very effective.
We got another glimpse of Paul Maurice blowing a gasket behind the bench here. He's starting to get legendary status on it. And then to watch it and then see a goal produced right away. Like, does he really think he's that good?
Right. I pushing the right buttons in those situations. During that second period, I found myself maybe enjoying one or two too many drinks there during that period. So I missed that fiasco. But I did see it the next day. And, listen, I think when he has that pulse and the team is not performing the way it should perform, you want to let him know. He heard Barkov talk about it. It wasn't so much that he was mad. I think he was just kind of letting the guys know that just wasn't good enough and get yourselves into the game. And they responded in that situation, obviously, right after. But he seems to like kind of pick and choose his right spots, and I guess good on him for probably not I guess good on the players for not having the coach remind them how you need to play, because they've been fairly consistent throughout the playoffs and throughout the season. But I think always a little reminder is always, it was good to the guys, letting them know, as Talk let his players know, it is the playoffs.
So there was a run of years, I want to say 2 seasons, where Barkov didn't have the greatest postseason run. And it was kind of like almost becoming a reputation thing where like this guy struggles a bit in the postseason. This season, that has not been the case. He's been wonderful for Florida. Do you think there was anything to the previous stuff, or is it sometimes it just, you get luckier than others?
Well, I think for him, each and every year, you're seeing kind of that next step. And I think you look at last year, the taste that they got so close to being, what can you do differently, in the playoffs. He is the captain of the team, and he's the leader of the group. And I think when he's going on all cylinders like he has been, it rubs down the lineup. And I think he takes so much pride on his game, not so much, I guess, scoring points or whatever the case may be. That's been really nice to see on his part. But just his 200-foot game, the way he tracks back, the way he breaks up plays, the way how hard he is to take the puck off, the way he defends in the offensive zone, protecting the puck, and most of all, making his line mates better. Mm-hmm. He's a special player, man, I tell you.
Does he ever get mad, Jovo?
I don't think, no. And I'm sure inside it does boil in him.
Yeah.
I think he takes his frustration out and just want to be better that next shift. But he's a quiet guy. I played with him a handful of years. He's a quiet guy. He just goes out there and tries to lead by example. But he's the first guy on the ice, the last guy off the ice. He spends a lot of time at the rink and just working on his craft, and he's been excellent.
He's never had a 40-goal season, Jovo. Is that because he's not pushing for one? Like, is he good enough where if he said, I'm going to score 45 or 50 this year, it happens?
I think so, Kyper. I think you look at him, he's so unselfish. I think you almost want to be a little bit selfish sometimes shooting the puck. He's got a twisted wrister that he can beat goaltenders from out. But he likes to set up his line mates. He's a pass almost first type guy. But yeah, I think there's no question. I think if he made that, hey, listen, I'm going to get 35 to 45 goals. I think he's a player obviously capable of it. He's a big body. He's tough to handle. He shoots the puck a ton, and he's got moves too. We've seen a handful of those this year. The way he can dangle through guys. He can finish, and but yeah, I think he gets more satisfaction probably in setting up guys and breaking up plays.
Yeah. So, unbelievable quote, not sure if you saw it, from Brad Marchand yesterday or today. Where he said that he's not mad about the Bennett thing. He basically said that, you, as much as no one wants to say it, you try to hurt the other players on the other team when you play, which is, we all know it. It's kind of been like, you're not supposed to say it. How do you feel about that statement and also Sam Bennett?
Right. Well, you're going to get out of Sam Bennett. I mean, that's why a lot of the time he is banged up, because he only knows one speed, and he plays that physical game. And I'm not disagreeing with Marchie on this. I don't know if you go out and publicly say that. I think in our league, the respect factor is there probably more than any other league. Mm-hmm. I think guys truly care. No one wants to hurt each other. I think it's when you get into the playoffs, when you have an opportunity to really smoke someone, you're not hesitating. Do you want him to get hurt? No. I mean, you want to be a hard-nosed hockey player and you want it to be physical. I would think the more proper way to say it is probably, we just hate each other. I think the hatred develops, especially these two teams, obviously what happened last year. And now we're in a series. So, could be fireworks tomorrow.
Well, when you think about two goalies going head to head, I'm not sure you can find a better matchup than Swayman or Bobrovsky here. But, for the most part, goalie Bob has continued to turn his career around. Like, it's phenomenal that we were talking about those first 3 years in Florida about does he get bought out? Who would buy that? Who would trade for that contract? But, you know, he's been money for them for quite a while right now, and this really could come down to the last save between Swayman and Bobrovsky.
Yeah, it could, and they both been excellent. You know, even with Florida putting up 6 in a couple games there, you can't look at the goaltender being, you know, the issue there. For Bob, yeah, you're right. He's been consistent. He's given his team to even if you look at, you know, game 4, I think it was 3 breakaways that he did stop kind of right in the heat as the game was close. So he's been dialed in. He's given he's so square to the play right now. He's not leaving too much in front of him, deflecting things off. And when Bob's in this zone, he's very difficult to beat. You got to give credit to what's going on in front of him. I think the guys' second and third opportunities have done a nice job in front. And Swayman as well. I mean, he's taken the ball and run with it. They both have excellent seasons, the Boston goaltender. But I think running with Swayman has been a pretty good decision on the coach's part. And he's delivered for Boston.
Well, get your take on the opposition here in that Boston Bruins team. We obviously watched them here in Toronto in a 7-game series, and it didn't feel like they had a ton of firepower, but they just play really solid team defense. I give some credit to Jim Montgomery there. Is Florida having a tough time with it as much as Toronto was trying to produce?
Well, just kind of reflecting on that, you know, look at the lineup that there was posted before last game, and you're like, you know, Florida really has an opportunity here to expose this lineup.
Yeah.
You take Marchand out of the lineup, it really looks different. You know, I think you get in these situations, I think as a team, you just got to clamp down, and I think that's what Boston has done. Mm-hmm. They really clog up the middle and kind of force you into those areas, and they're turning pucks over and going back the other way defensively. They have a great back end. I mean, they're a big back end. They're mobile. Lohrai's been a big surprise who probably didn't hear much of. I mean, this kid moves around pretty good for a big man. But, yeah, I think this time of year, you know, crunch time, especially back up against the wall, you're going to get your best defensive effort. I think for the Florida Panthers side, you just can't get too I guess, frustrated in those situations where what has been the backbone of this team is getting the puck behind the D and working below the goal line and doing a great job in that area. You'd like to see Matthew pick it up a little bit more in that area, kind of nothing in the last couple of games. Like to get him back going. But overall, I think you look at this game as an individual game, forget what happened, and try to look at tape where you can expose Boston.
Anybody up front for Boston that stands out for you? Because past Pasternak and Marchand, who hasn't been in the lineup.
I think Coyle.
This is a meat and potatoes lineup, isn't it?
It is. You know, every time it seems like Coyle's on the ice, he's just so low to the ice. He's a good skater, bright shot. He can play physical. He can finish. Even a guy like Trent Frederick, I mean, a guy that's been involved. And obviously we know Pasternak put in those situations. I mean, he can beat you. So I think collectively everybody's got to chip in just like every other group. But I'm impressed with Coyle as a player. I think he kind of adds every element to that group.
You know who stands out to me in Florida that I didn't know a ton about? And not that I didn't know about him, but Lundell. Lundell seems to be involved in just about everything these days.
Yeah, he's one of those Swiss Army knife type players where, you know, the coaches really put him in key situations, key face-offs. You can use him on the power play when guys aren't there. I think experience he's eventually going to get there. He's that smart of a player. But a PK guy just kind of feeds off Barkey a little bit. I think he stays pretty close to Barkey and watches how he handles himself. But, yeah, every year he's gone better. And then when he kind of slips a little bit, you're like, you know, you're wondering kind of what's going on there. But you got to remember he's still a young guy, still learning. And I think Maurice does an excellent job kind of controlling him in situations where we see him on the ice.
And just one more. I wanted to ask about does Brandon Montour slap shot everything? Does it just every time the puck comes to him, does he hit a slap shot? Like, it doesn't seem like he has a wrister, a snapper. He just wants to bomb it, doesn't he?
He does have a bomb, and we almost want him to shoot more because he gets going on that power play, and he does have that look right in the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
They seem to always kind of look for that half-board play, bring it down low, and now with Matty and Sammy Reinhart working that play. He's got a bomb. Why not use it? I think in that situation, you like them to see it shoot a little bit more on the power play. But I got to believe he's got a wrister in there too.
Those are allowed, yeah, I guess.
So,
Yeah.
Jovo, this is technically a Leaf Hour edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne show. So I'm just going to throw it out there, man.
Yeah.
Montour is a Toronto Maple Leaf next year, signed as
Can
a
you run
UFA.
a power play for us?
What do you think?
Well, I tell you what, man, he's sitting in a pretty good position there. You know, just watching these guys, even a guy like Forsling, who 3 years ago was brought here on waivers, has done an exceptional job. And I think when you look at Montour, what can he do? He can skate. He was a great first pass. He plays against top lines. He's a minute muncher. Plays both situations, PK and power play. He's one of those defensemen you look at. You know, I think he's going to be highly sought after. We'd love to have him here. I'm sure being in this situation here, just like Sammy Reinhart, I think there's decisions got to be made, but hopefully we can keep them all.
Well, listen, those questions won't get answered till after we find out what happens with the Stanley Cup here. But enjoy Game 6 tomorrow, Jovo. We always appreciate your time and your wisdom on our show. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, go get a tan now, Jovo.
All right, buddy.
How you hitting them? How you hitting them?
It's the Mediterranean in me. I don't get too.
Hey,
I'm jealous.
And how you hitting them these days?
All right. I keep it right around a 4. Can't lose too much, but you can win.
All right, we got to get him up here.
Yeah, we
got to have a game.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Jovo.
And Jovanovski. So,
4. Damn.
like,
I heard he's a good
All
player.
these hockey guys just sticks, eh?
But they got nothing to do all summer. Lift
so
weights in the
you want to
morning, play
talk
golf.
about a little bit of a late developer, like Brandon Montour?
You know, he's only 30. Like, for a D-man, you got good years ahead. Well, if you're
So
a
I
good
don't know if you
skater.
guys were born when I was asked on Sportsnet.
Oh, I remember.
Willie Nylander did not sign, went through the whole, and then we said, let's make trades.
Oh,
And I loved Montour back then.
It's come up.
And everybody ripped on me,
Oh,
right?
did they
And
ever, Kiffy?
it was over Nick Ritchie, who was a top 10 pick at that point.
He's
Hey,
right?
giant.
I mean, everybody wanted to, like, remember Grapes went crazy they didn't take him in the first round.
Without Willie playing a game in the NHL, Willie was what, 5th pick overall?
8th.
8th?
8th? Yeah, maybe we
Okay,
right.
8th for a 10th pick. Not crazy.
No.
And then you throw in Brandon Montour.
Yeah.
Who,
At the time, wasn't nuts, Kiffy.
Nobody-
Now it's not great.
sorry?
It's not great now, though. At
What's
the
that?
time, it was actually fine, and I was like, "Yeah, that looks pretty good."
It
but
was fine.
now it's one that is very easy to throw in your face, and it sucks.
No,
because,
no, it's not easy at all. Brandon
Rich is
Montour is
great.
a top defenseman.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I mean, yeah,
I could argue that Brandon Montour the last 2 years, 3 years as a Toronto Maple Leafs would have helped you advance past a first round a lot more than Willie did. I'm just telling you.
Brandon Montour's last 2 seasons
I'm
have
just
brought
telling
brought the idea back.
you
to
get a
real
little
life.
bit.
You
Yeah.
get Brandon Montour on the Leafs a few years ago, and they're getting past Montreal. They're getting past Columbus. They're getting.
Good news is you can
I'm just
have
telling
both.
you.
but Willie is literally the only one of the core four that scored any big goals for them the entire time. So
Let's be honest. I mean, you can't. I mean, you've only been out of the first round once in 10 years.
Mhm.
You haven't really scored any big goals.
I mean, how many times has Montour been out in the first
Don't
round?
give me that crap, Sammy. Please,
Oh,
come
I'm
on.
saying.
There's no real big goals.
So
I'm
he
just
played, so
saying,
he played with the
it's
Ducks.
not-
Yeah, okay, he's been around. Yeah,
it's-
okay, 3 times.
He is a phenomenal D right now who's got an edge to him. There's not that many of them out there.
He has some real FU to his game, which I like. I'm curious what a number would look like for him. Probably 7.
Oh God, I think someone's going to overpay.
More than that?
Yeah, more than that.
What? Really? For how long?
I think he's 8. I think he's 8.
Yeah.
I think you can get it in the 8s.
That's a scary contract.
We do not agree.
Yeah,
I'm just.
I think he's really good.
What's he currently earning?
But what's I don't know.
and he hammers the puck too, eh?
Well, he hammers the puck. He plays 25 minutes a night. He can be physical. He is currently earning 3.5.
He's going to get a
Wow.
raise, I'd say.
7.5, 8
Yeah.
times 6.
Give him the Morgan Riley contract.
Oh, I'm hesitant to do that.
What,
I-
7.5?
I don't-
7.5, 8 for
I don't
6
like-
years?
I don't like it that much either.
No, I mean, I think he's really good, but he's 30 years
I'd
old.
rather give him 8.25 for 4 years.
He's come into his own, no question, and he's really developed.
Even less than that.
But that's a lot of money, man, for a long
4
time.
years, $8 million.
But he'll
That's a
probably
lot
get
of
it.
money.
I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, that's why going into free agency and like building a team through free agency and trying to add guys, it's a really dangerous game. It really is. Where
But don't you feel like you'd prefer like a Pesci or like someone who does?
if I had my choice of all the guys,
Chatfield, but better than Pesci.
all the guys I'm
I don't know if he's
choosing,
better than Pesci, but it would be cheaper. And I
Tanev
like
is
that.
the guy I
Better.
choose.
Better.
I love Tanev.
Heavier, tougher,
Yeah.
faster, better.
All right. Bring me Jalen Chatfield.
The Chatfield man.
I am pro.
Every time I come up with a name,
Jalen has entered
Okay.
the Chatfield.
Sam Bennett, I told you guys well before we met,
Yes,
go get Sam Bennett.
I know.
Everybody laughed
I
at
know.
that one too.
I did not. I like that idea.
You wanted to trade old
Nick Ritchie. Nobody
Robertson.
nobody in Leafland wanted to trade Nick Robertson for Sam Bennett.
Nick Ritchie now is in the Finnish league, I think.
Yeah.
So
He's in some trouble, I think.
yeah. Anyways, yeah. So no, Kippy, it's come around a little bit. You're the take that everyone loves to throw in your face. Montour is very good, so it's come around a little bit.
Yeah, it's come
But-
around.
A little bit. Yeah.
Come around.
I wouldn't say fully all the way around.
When's Bennett? When's Bennett
We'll
done?
see.
What's his deal? He's got 2 more years. After this year, he only has 1 more year at 4.4.
Do you want to play the Marchand clip here?
Yes.
Talking about the Bennett thing. In
Yes.
fact, yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Let's play that clip there.
I think that it was, he plays hard. You know, he's an extremely physical player, great player for the group. I think he got away with a shot, but, you know, I'm not going to complain. I mean, happens. And, you know, that's part of, especially playoff hockey. You know, I've been on the other side of a lot of plays, and you know, I think you get away with one, but I mean that's part of the game, and definitely part of playoff hockey. You know, yeah, it sucks to be on the other side of it, but you know that stuff happens. You know, so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. That's part of the game. And,
I like that. I applaud Marchand for saying the right thing.
Breaks my heart how much I love that clip. Like he's like, yeah, I'm a dirtbag too, and I
Yeah.
do dirty stuff, and a guy got me. You got to cheat.
I got. I
Got
try to get people.
Try to hurt people.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm applauding him for saying that he tries to get people and he got. Not necessarily the idea of trying to hurt people, but I mean, let's not. Are you going to have some high and mighty moment where you say you don't try to?
No, I'm saying that that's the way it is.
Yes. Okay.
That's
good.
the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah, try to hurt people.
Even Jovo, you know, he's saying
Right?
you hit the guy and you hope he's not hurt. And it's
That's
like, well,
hard.
you hope he's not permanently hurt.
yeah,
You would like him to have a bruise so bad he can't walk for a week.
Maybe a little crack rib.
Yeah, or just something that limits you for the series.
Yes.
Something where tape's not going to cut it and you
Yeah.
can't play, and then doesn't affect the rest of your life. That's what you would like to happen.
It's hard for people that never play to hear that. It is
you
very
know,
hard,
I
and
accept that.
because there's people that say I don't want to win that badly, that I want to hurt someone, and there's others that have
Dude.
played that way and say no, we're trying to hurt you.
There's others that said they'd fight their mom to win a Stanley Cup.
I really enjoyed hurting people. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I did. When I saw you crawling off the ice, I brought a smile to my face.
Psychopathic thing to say, and I love it. I love you for it.
Hey,
It makes me like you more.
takes some. What can I say? I played in the NHL. It's incredible. What can I say?
All within the
The
rules.
door to this room doesn't
Hey,
lock, does it?
Hey, all within the
He's
rules.
pissed off at me about the Montour thing. He wants to hurt me.
I had a split second where I could have jammed my fist down your throat.
I love
Just
it.
a split second,
I love
though,
it.
Sandy.
That's good. I love
All
it.
right, plenty more. We promise not to hurt anyone moving forward. Rest of the show, I'm on my best behavior. Okay, when we return, we go national. Rob Brown, Adam Graves, plenty more on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley Cup.
The Real Kyper and Bourne Show, live and in color on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, as we get ready for Battle of Canada once again.
Wonderful weekend of sports coming up. You got a PGA Championship major. You got these excellent game 6s, potentially game 7s, NBA playoffs cooking up. Blue Jays are there too. Just a wonderful weekend of sports, boys. It's
Very
just
exciting.
And I'm probably going to be outside the whole time, but it's going to be great.
You're golfing it up.
Oh, yeah.
We got Rob Brown in a few minutes to help us tee up Edmonton and Vancouver. Adam Graves, New York Ranger great, will join us as well as we get ready for Game 6 between the Rangers and Carolina. But in the meantime, a lot of heat on Petey. I know you guys talked about it.
Yeah, we had Riccio.
Yeah,
Like
today.
everyone else, it's just gotten beaten to a pulp. The poor guy that there's been 3 days between these games, it's just been them. It's like Mitch would have felt here in Toronto. Endless.
It's very similar.
The other thing, too, is we listened to him talking to the media, and he's not giving much at all.
Not much to inspire you out of his latest presser?
Not much.
Would you like to hear that clip?
Sure. What do you got for us?
All right, let's play it, Derek.
From your perspective, why has it been so difficult these last 3 months to generate the way you maybe did previously?
Yeah, good question.
Any thoughts, any answers?
No.
Okay, that's not helping. That is not helping him.
Yeah, it's certainly not making it. That was from yesterday. It's certainly not improving things.
I heard one person say that they liked the idea that he almost seemed defiant there. Like it's a bit of an
Why?
FU.
Why? To who? To who?
To the person asked the question. Like the idea that like he can't figure it out or he's struggling. Like I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry about me.
You can say that, but you don't have to come off so standoffish.
Yeah, and
I think he's making a horrible mistake.
by making
The team just gave you $90 million. You got to come up with something better than no.
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
He,
I mean, that's
right?
a great drop.
It makes it
Yeah, good question.
It makes it adversarial, which it doesn't need to be. Someone is just saying, "Hey, give us your perspective on what's happening here." So I'm with you in that.
If he can come in with any type of sincerity, saying, I'm as frustrated as you are,
Yeah.
something that just
Yeah.
can hold,
Just
then
be like-
you're fine.
and be like, "Hey,
Nobody-
like I'm not doing anything different to me. I'm trying to figure out what
we know you don't have the answer for us,
Yeah.
but just come across like
what are you going to try next? What's
I'm not the Edmonton Oilers here. I'm just asking the question.
Mhm.
I have to say, like, as a fan watching this stuff, one of the most impressive things to me is that these guys do this so little. That like the NHL guys, I think that's a little bit more adversarial in other sports, but in the NHL, they just give like after heartbreaking losses, after heated losses, after all that they can just go up there. Like if I went up there after a loss and people, I'd be just like I don't know how they are so professional about it.
Mhm.
It's always been something I've admired about them. Like Tavares, how do you just keep saying these robot things over and over? Is there nothing in you that makes you want to say one thing one time? They barely any of them ever do it. It blows
Yeah.
my mind.
I
That's why it sticks out so much, and especially a guy in his situation.
I'm not
like,
sure how
boy,
much like effort they put into it, or where they prioritize the importance of being in that moment. Like the heat's on you. You know that they're kind of come at you, the media at least. Why you're scoring. You're making $90 million. Like you got to be prepared enough. He's been around long enough he should have better tools to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
That's all. And all he did was just pour gasoline on it.
Typically when these guys sign these big contracts, some of the struggles are because they want to reward the city and reward the team, right? For the money they've been given, and it's frustrating for them and they can't figure out maybe trying too hard or something. But to your point, Kip, he can just say that if that's the case.
But then
He's been bad for like months though.
yeah, like
But when-
pretty much
when you
since
watch
he
him-
signed
Yeah.
the contract.
there's no fighting that dog like others.
No.
And Rick Tocchet sees it, and he is one of half a dozen that says, if you're scoring or not scoring, I don't care. I'm not seeing enough fight in you. Like there's
Yeah, we've
board
seen
battles.
him run some people over
It's-
here and there.
It's just not enough.
Yeah.
It's just not enough.
Everyone's got their theories on it. Part of me today driving in, because I've been thinking about it too, is like, sometimes it's not that complicated. It's just you're being a little more passive than usual. The puck doesn't bounce your way. The other team is obviously defending you a little harder. You've been keyed on for a series. And, when I'm in the ECHL, I look like an awesome player. But I go up a level and you don't even notice me. That was my experience as a player. For Petey, in the regular season, he's unbelievable. He's a 90-point guy or whatever, and it goes up a level in the postseason, and he hasn't found that next level yet. And I think it's there. I'm not saying he's not going to get there, but sometimes the game going up above you, take that one more notch can kind of make you irrelevant if you're an offensive guy. Maybe it's just the hockey. Maybe it's not some mental thing where he's, people are diagnosing this guy. He's depressed. He wants out of Vancouver. He's like, hey, relax. It might just be him figuring out the hockey game. And
there's plenty of time here to win a series for the Vancouver Canucks.
Plenty of time. It's 2-2 going home, baby. They got a chance here.
A couple of matches and decent
He
games.
ends up with 2 or 3 points tonight, and all is forgiven.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, there's enough time.
Yes.
There's plenty of time.
So how do you, as a coach, jumpstart a guy like him? Well, we can have that conversation after because we have the Oilers side of things about to be represented. Rob Brown.
So, Brownie would be a perfect guy because Brownie was paid to produce. Brownie knows what it's like to step on the ice and say, I only got one job, and that's to find a way to put the puck in the net. So, Brownie, you tell me what Pettersson's going through right now in Vancouver.
Well, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders now. Rick Tocchet made sure of that. I would hope that before this happened that this would have been a conversation between Tocchet and Pettersson privately or in the dressing room, and that eventually it escalated to the point that he called him out publicly. One of two things are going to happen. I'm sure that you've played with a bunch of these players too, Kyper, where the coach gets on it and kicks the player in the butt and screams at him and yells at him, and the player either responds by going out there and saying, screw you, I'm going to show you how good I am, or the player curls up in the corner and can't handle the pressure. I played for Hitch as a 15 or 16-year-old. I learned very quickly to say, screw you, coach. I'm going to go out and show you I'm better because that's the way he coached. But there are players that I've played with when the coach wrote them, they got worse. They couldn't handle the pressure. And I guess we're going to find out in the next few hours if Elias Pettersson's a guy that when the spotlight is on him, if he gets bigger or if he shrinks, because he has not been good in this series. And the Vancouver Canucks, despite their best player not being around in this series and their top goalie being out, are tied 2-2. Imagine where they could be if Pettersson was at playing to the ability that he has, because he's a much better player than we've seen.
I think that's the frustration right now for Canucks fans is they feel like they've been in games and, 2-2 is good, but maybe they want a little bit more. Give us your overall view of the series so far, how it's gone versus how you expected it to go.
Well, I called before the series. I thought the Oilers would win in 6. And so far, the Canucks have done their part for me by winning the 2 games.
Yeah.
I think for carrying the play, I think the Oilers have carried more of the play, had more of the better chances offensively. I think Stuart Skinner didn't play to the capabilities that he's able to. And a couple of those goals that were scored allowed the Canucks to stay in games. I believe the Canucks goaltending has been fantastic. Sheloff's been amazing in this series. And the Canucks, I give them credit. They have this don't say die attitude. They're never out of the game. Their willingness to block shots, to throw hits, to dive to get pucks out of their zone. Their compete level is through the roof. They are full deserving to be in this series, but I do believe that tonight's game is more important to the Canucks than it is to the Oilers. I do believe that if the Canucks win tonight, they set themselves up pretty good. If the Oilers lose tonight, I still think the Oilers can win on home ice and win Game 7. I don't know if the Canucks, if they lose, can go in and win Game 6 in Edmonton. I think this is the Canucks Game 7 tonight. I think if they win this game, they have a chance. But, anything can happen. It's just a weird series. We were talking the other day in September. If someone has said the Canucks and the Oilers are going to Game 5, we're like, fantastic. And it's been It's the goaltending is the talk of this series. Like, oh, Demko and Skinner, Demko and Campbell are having fantastic series. And the fact that Sheilov and Pickard playing in Game 5 just shows you that both teams' seasons went a little sideways at some point.
We're talking to Rob Brown, former National Hockey Leaguer, Edmonton Oilers analyst for Ched. So how big or gutsy was the decision by the Oilers to make a switch in that?
I think it was huge. Before the game, I said I would have played Skinner. It's the safer bet. He's your number one guy. We lost with our number one guy. We gave him a chance. So to go to a third string journeyman type goaltender, it was a gutsy call by the coach. Having said that, Pickard was excellent. He was excellent all year long. One of the main reasons the Oilers were able to make their surge up the standings was the play of Pickard, because they were able to play him. And they didn't have to run Skinner into the ground. They didn't have to make a trade for a goaltender, which would have taken someone off the roster somewhere else. So Calvin Pickard, through his play this year, earned the right to be called upon in a playoff game. And it was a feel-good story for their team. Here's a guy that I think someone on our podcast, it's like been 4,000 days since his first NHL win to his first playoff win. That's a pretty incredible story. So I'm glad they went with Pickard tonight. I think it's the right call tonight in this hockey game. He won the game last game. He deserves to have the crease again.
I was with you. I said before the game, like I would have started Skinner, because if Pickard wins, then what? Then Pickard's your starting goalie. Like, that's not a situation you want to be in. But I guess you just kind of make it the situation until he loses a game, then give the ball back to Skinner to try again.
Well, I guess it all depends on how the game goes. If the Oilers lose or win 7-6 tonight, then okay, I can make a case that Skinner goes in. But if Pickard comes in, they win a game and he plays well again, then you go with Skinner. Or excuse me, Pickard. You go with Pickard again. You got to go with your heart. It's not a time of year for petting in the National Hockey League or looking after the feelings of players. It's about wins and losses. And the Edmonton Oilers, rightly or wrongly, said cup or bust in training camp. This is a team that's built for today. And if right now you feel that Calvin Pickard gives you the best chance of winning this game and this series, then Calvin Pickard's the guy. And he's earned the right with the way he's played all season long.
Front of the Oilers, another power play goal in Game 4 that gives them one in every game so far. And once upon a time, you were part of a pretty potent power play with the likes of Mario Lemieux. I mean, what is it with this power play that we've really never seen before?
Well, first, Connor McDavid is the greatest power play player the NHL has ever seen. And I've played with Mario. I've played against Gretzky and Messi and all these greats. But on the power play, I don't think anybody can do what he does. First, it starts with the fact that he carries the puck from his own zone in. They have 100% guaranteed entry every single time the puck gets dumped down. Every time. And that's no other team in the National Hockey League can do that. When they get in the offensive zone, they have 5 players that can pass. They have 5 players that can shoot. When you look at other great power plays in the NHL, you look at Tampa, for example, you know where Kucherov and Stamkos are going to be standing the whole time. They're still successful. They execute great, but you always know where they are. And if you're a penalty killer, you're trying to get into that passing lane or shooting lane. You can't play passive against the Oilers, because if the passing lane's not there, they move. Connor McDavid starts on the blue line. He ends up below the goal line. He's in the slot. He's now in front of the net. Draisaitl moves everywhere. And it's really hard for a penalty killer, because you think, okay, I've got him. He's in the right spot. And then all of a sudden you look, he's gone, and the pass goes by you. Their retrieval is as good as any in the National Hockey League. If there's a loose puck, I got my money on the Edmonton Oilers winning that loose puck. And then the biggest thing is their skill level is better than any in the National Hockey League. I mean, Leon Draisaitl, when he scores from a foot off the goal line, you think, okay, as a defender, okay, Leon, okay, I got him in a bad shooting area. Good. Okay, he's one less guy to think about. If it goes to him, there's no way he can score from there. And then it goes from him and he scores. He has his feet below the goal line and hits the net. So even when you do everything right as a penalty killer, they can still make you pay. You just need, to me, it's a lot of luck, and fantastic goaltending is the only way that you get through it. And the only way you can have any success against the Oilers' power play is by staying out of the penalty box.
Such good analysis, just because, like, you see McDavid, and he's swirling around the zone. He's in the slot. He's on one bumper. He's below the goal line. Like, how do you You do with your coverage.
A great example was the Leon goal last game. The Canucks did a great job keeping the stick in the lane, the passing lane, not allowing it. So McDavid just kept moving until eventually he found the passing lane. No other team in the National Hockey League does this. So the Canucks are not going to win if they take penalties because the Oilers' power play is just too good.
So I'm hoping you could tease out for us the Ekholm-Bouchard pairing. A lot of people were talking about like the Bouchard, his stats, like this guy should be in the Norris conversation. I had one of the two on my Norris ballot. I had Ekholm in my fifth spot, not Bouchard. I think that he's just the anchor. I mean, last couple games he gets run and then he scores, and he gets run and then Nugent Hopkins scores. It doesn't matter. He just seems to make the right plays no matter how many times you hit this guy.
Well, it's funny. Going into they're announcing who's going to be up for the Norris. They're talking about Makar and Hughes, and then coming into this series, they're comparing Hughes with Bouchard. And I said, and they're like, well, does Bouchard deserve to be in the Norris? Does he deserve to be in the conversation with those players? I'm like, well, to be honest, Bouchard is fantastic. Has a great year, and his upside is huge. But he's not the best defenseman on his team. Mattias Ekholm's the best defenseman. Bouchard is going to get all the print. And 1 year, he's going to score 25 goals in this league. He might score 30. He could be a 100-point guy. And he will eventually be in the Norris conversations. But right now, Mattias Ekholm's their best defenseman. And he is one of the best in the National Hockey League. And he does everything. And I'm sure, and I've never talked to Bouchard about this, but I'm sure he will credit some of the success he's had with being paired with Ekholm when Ekholm came over last year at the trade deadline. He just settled down, Evan, and just settled down and gave him the confidence. Be who you are. Don't worry about the mistakes. I'm there for you if you make a mistake. But Ekholm just gives you everything. He blocks shots. Physical, not in a Susi or Zadorov way, but a physical where he just eliminates you from the play. He jumps up. He's got more offense than anyone expected. And he was hidden at times in Nashville because he's behind Roman Josi, who's one of the greatest in the league. But now we're getting to see on a nightly basis, when he's lugging the mail, he makes good decisions, makes pretty plays, and he's got a bomb of a shot. So 100%, I love the fact that you put him on the Norris ballot because I do believe he's one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League.
Bouchard has settled somewhat defensively, though, not making nearly the mistakes that we've seen in the past. If he's going to win a Norris, he's got to win it like Carlson's won it the last couple.
Like massive points?
Yeah. Massive. Just big numbers.
I agree, and he's got the ability to do that. If this Oiler team keeps both Leon and Connor, they've got Hyman and Nuge locked up for years. Their power play is going to be good for years, and Bouchard's part of that. He's going to get his points. But I was talking about this just the other day. If you look at the body of work that Evan Bouchard has put together in the playoffs, and I was a guy that's talked about Bouchard all season long. Great offensive defenseman, not yet a great defenseman because there's more than just scoring points. But in this playoff run, he's been very good in both ends. I can't remember the big mistake that he's made yet in the playoffs. I can't remember where he hasn't eliminated a guy that he should have, or in front of the net get caught looking the wrong way. He's been very, very good. Both ends. I mean, you don't play 31 minutes like you did a couple nights ago unless you're on top of your game, both in the offensive and defensive zone. So as much as there's still warts in his game and he's still learning to play at this level, I think he's made huge strides in this playoffs to becoming a better all-round defenseman. And the Oilers have needed all of those minutes out of him because there have been struggles on the back end. Bouchard has not been part of those struggles.
Brownie, going into the series, I had trouble seeing a way that the Canucks were going to hang with Edmonton, but they are hanging with Edmonton. What needs to happen here? Is it just production from the bottom six, even strength? What are you seeing out of the Oilers that has kept it from being, I think most people had them as a favorite, so kept it from being how most people thought it would go?
Well, I think in the first few games, goaltending. I think that, not that Skinner was bad, but you got a goalie in one end, Sheloff's making these huge saves, taking away goals. I mean, you stopped Leon Draisaitl on back-to-back breakaways. I mean, those are sure things. I've watched all season long. So the others weren't getting the save. So that's the one big thing. And in all honesty, they're getting one-line scoring. It's been behind Connor and Leon and their power play. The Oilers haven't got a point out of their third line in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Their fourth line doesn't play enough minutes. They get 6 minutes. They're not getting enough to produce at all. But up until last game, Evander had been quiet in this series. RNH has been quiet in this series. Fogle, a McLeod, Perry. They need more of those players. So right now, the Vancouver Canucks they're trying to survive a shift when Connor and Leon are out, and then they get a big, big sigh. Okay, we got another 3 minutes before we have to. Okay, here comes the stress again. So if the Oilers can find some production in their bottom six, then all of a sudden the 3-2 game is a 5-3 game or a 5-2 game. But they're not getting that separation because they're not getting anything out of their bottom six. Although you look at the opposite side, I mean, Elias Pettersson, who I believe is being moved up tonight, he's been going head-to-head against the McLeod line. Neither line scored any goals. It's one of those ones that Vancouver really should have had a huge edge, and they weren't able to take advantage of it. So tonight's game, if either team gets something out of their bottom six, that's probably the team that's going to win the hockey game.
Oilers did get a big hit out of Evander Kane, though, on Hronek on the game-winning goal on
100%.
Bouchard. I got to assume that we're going to see some more of that tonight. Zadorov, Kane kind of matchup. It's been fun to watch, hasn't it?
It has. I've got a newfound respect for Zadorov from the Canucks. I tell you, whatever team he plays for, he's the fan favorite. And I'm watching him from afar. I'm an Oiler fan, Oiler guy. I'm like, okay, that guy is good to watch. Yeah. He plays the game the right way. I do believe there will be physicality because you got Soucy back in the lineup. I think they certainly missed him last game. But what the Canucks realize is you can't run out of position to make big hits. We saw was it Juulsen? Is that how you pronounce his name? Juulsen makes he runs out of position. Not only does he take himself out, but he stopped two back checkers from getting back in time because he just cleaned house. So you can't do that against the Oilers. But I do believe the Canucks have to be physical, and they have been, and it's been effective. I thought the game-winning goal by the Oilers the other night doesn't happen if Kane doesn't run Hronek through the boards. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the shift, Hronek he looked fatigued, looked tired, didn't force Leon down low, allowed the best passer in the National Hockey League all the time in the world to survey the scene and make the right play. But I think it's going to be another one-goal game. I really do. I think Vancouver's going to come out with their best effort. You have players getting called out. You've got Soucy back in the lineup. You have a couple new guys jumping into their lineup. I think this is going to be the Canucks' best game of the series, and I do believe the Oilers will match it.
Good game coming tonight, Kip. I think we're out of time.
Yep. Awesome stuff, Brownie. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Brownie, you're the best.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks, pal.
That is Rob Brown.
Take care, guys.
He was so good on the Edmonton power play.
I know. It's a guy who can...
And he's absolutely right. That is like 100% entry.
The toughest, the free entry is massive because you saw the Leafs all playoffs fail at that.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Oh, okay.
But the toughest part as a PK guy is figuring out the rotation. Like, okay, it moves here. Is it me? Is it you? Where are we going? And when McDavid just circles around, it's like, it's me, it's me, it's you. I'm kind of in your zone. Is it you? Where are we? And it's in your net.
When you have a guy that's automatic from the sideboards, too, that's helpful.
Also helpful, yeah.
Like the pass at Brownie was like kind of no look right in the tape, bang with three guys on McDavid. Yeah. What do you do?
I was thinking you can't get the most out of a guy like McDavid unless you have someone like Draisaitl, someone who can take advantage of all the looks he creates. And
he's like legitimately scoring like close to a Gretzky pace in the playoffs. Like he's unbelievable.
Draisaitl.
Yes. He is a ridiculous. Somebody tweeted us as like, why can't
McDavid called him the second best player in the world?
Well, of course he did. That's his teammate.
He did though. Like, as in, like, I'm better than him? Because he is, but it's just, when
he's like, in the classic hockey,
top player in the world.
He's actually McCarr and then Draisaitl.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he would never say it's me. Yeah.
Think about how much Edmonton's going to have to spend on him if they want to get him signed.
Draisaitl?
July 1st.
Oh, my God. So much money.
15,
16?
16? Buddy, numbers are going up in this
league. The numbers are going up. If they want to get him signed on a long-term deal, you're doing the math on
where the cap
well above $100 million salary cap.
So Matthews got 13.5.
That's Kelly Olynyk money.
16 won't be a stretch on a long-term deal for Leon Draisaitl.
Wow. You know what? Good. The hockey money is pathetic compared to the other pro sports. Let's ramp it up.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing game time.
Let's hit a break so we can get back for a gravy, and then we'll do game time after.
Sounds good, Sammy. Good plan.
Thanks,
good
bud.
producing.
Thank you.
All right. You heard the man. We're back after these words. Vic Kypreos, Justin Bourne and Sam McKee. A couple minutes. We'll get Adam Graves to help us tee up the New York Rangers, Carolina.
Here's a great question on the text line. Hello, gentlemen. Please ask the panel and Kyper. So I guess ask myself and Barney and Kyper. If Draisaitl's worth 15 to 16 million, the following year on July 1st, McDavid, how much is he worth? 17 to 19 million, says John.
Yeah, that's a good question. I probably would have said a year ago that somehow, some way, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you got to come up with a number that would include both of them. So 30, 32 million, and you guys figure it out.
Interesting.
17 and 15 or something.
17, 15.
I don't think McDavid would run away, take that much more than the next highest guys.
No, he'd have to have that in consideration. Yeah. So.
Okay, interesting.
We didn't have to deal with any of that salary cap stuff when we played, thank goodness, Adam, right?
It was, yeah, exactly, Kip. You remember those meetings we used to have back in the day with Heels?
Was that don't tell anyone what you make? Was that the meeting?
No, actually, salary disclosure came out when Bob Goodnow came in the early 90s, and things obviously changed. But no, we were together in the lockout of right after the Cup in 94, and myself and Kyper and Heels ran the meeting. So I'm not sure how efficient it was, but we had a lot of fun. Let's put it that way.
All I remember is the cart came in loaded with the beer cart came in. And
This'll fix it.
This'll help us come up with answers. Gravy, how are you?
Barney, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I get the picture.
Exactly.
I got it.
All right, so big game tonight. Thanks for joining us. Let's get your thoughts in terms of Carolina extending this series and what it means to the New York Rangers now going into what will be a very hostile environment in Carolina.
Well, everyone knows from seeing this team in Carolina the type of support they get, and it's a building that is electric down there. The relationship between the team and the community and the city is extraordinary, and when you have a coach like Brenda Moore and the way he played. And I often say this, that players will take on the character of their coach, and Carolina is no different. And when you think about, even though this is a second round, you have the number 1 team in the league playing the number 3 team in the league, and there was 3 points separating the two teams, and every shift of every game has been incredible. And for me, the hockey played in this series has been just absolutely outstanding. And as much as I'm wearing a lot of blue, like Borny there, I'm also a hockey fan, and I will tell you that hockey's never been better. The skill level in all the series across the National Hockey League, but in the playoffs, Kyper, and it ramps up a little bit because you get a little bit of the old style with the physicality. It comes up to a different level where every hit is every opportunity, guys are finishing their checks, to just a skill level to the power plays, to the adjustments from game to game. And you see it in every series, but certainly this series, the hockey has been spectacular, in my opinion.
And, Gravy, you're gonna get back on the ice in a sec, but I am fascinated by your title with hockey and business operations, because you've seen the passion from fans in New York there since, going back, obviously, a lot of years. You guys win a President's Trophy this year. What is it like? What is the fan base like now compared to what it used to be? Is there, I guess, more? Is it less passionate? Just your sense in the different vibe from maybe the early 90s till now.
Well, I would say a few things, and certainly in the early 90s, and Kip will tell you that it is an absolute privilege and gift to wear that jersey and be on Garden Ice. But I would also tell you that the game has grown so much, whether you're looking at a guy like Adam Fox, Norris Trophy winner, from Long Island, grew up, following the Rangers, as have other players in the National Hockey League. But when you think of the Industry Growth Fund, which is the National Hockey League and the NHL Players Association, which is trying to grow the game, in New York, it's probably the fastest growing market in all of the United States when you look at it. And our Junior Rangers program has between 12 and 14,000 kids with sticks in their hand, whether it's school programs on ice, learn to play, our girls program. We have a Pee-wee team that we send to Quebec, boys Pee-wee team, and a girls Pee-wee team that we send to tournaments, hopefully in Quebec next year. So the growth of the game has been amazing. And I'd like to think in a small way, we might have had a little bit of influence on that in the early 90s, but certainly as it's moved forward and into the 2000s, this industry growth fund has been amazing in what it's done for the game and opportunity, and giving these kids an opportunity to put a stick in their hand, a full set of equipment, 12 weeks and 1 hour, and what it means. And it's not just the boys, it's boys and girls, families. And for me, the growth of the game has been outstanding. And when you look at going to a game at the Garden in the 90s, I can remember when John Amarante was singing the national anthem in Game 7. You couldn't hear him sing. I will tell you that it has come back to that level of energy at the Garden now. When it's John Brancy who sings, it is amazing. And it's one of those buildings, and I will tell you, I'm down there all the time. You want to be in the building 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour before the drop of the puck, because so much of anything people talk about back in our day, how about this game? How about this play? Do you remember? Kinda, but you remember everything around it. You remember the parade, the friendships, the meetings. But we won't go back to that. But it's the camaraderie. It's being at the rink in the morning and having our team stretch with Eddie Olczyk, and listening to Heels and Kyper back and forth, and then Mike Richter. It's all those personal and the energy and the people and the interactions. But the energy at the Garden is it's right back to its highest level, and it's an amazing place to play in. And it's one of those buildings that you want to be in there early. And it's no different now for the Knicks. As you know, you've seen the Knicks on the NBA side, and how close our two organizations are. We're brothers in the same organization, and the energy when you have both teams, having some success in the playoffs, it just brings the energy level, sport energy level in the city to a completely different level.
We're talking to Adam Graves, former NHLer, Ranger, great hockey business operations with the Rangers. So, Gravy, a guy like Chris Kreider is really moved up the ranks in legendary status with the New York Rangers, and just one of those guys where it took a while, but could be very influential here in the next couple of games here for the Rangers.
Well, when you talk about Chris, and I've known him since he was 18 years old, and I can remember his first development camp. He came into camp, and that was when he was jumping out of pools with, unlike you and I, Kip, where we roll out of a pool, jump out one leap. But he was maybe 6'1", 185 pounds, and you see him now, where 6'3", 235 pounds. He's as dedicated an athlete as there is. What he does in the community, his leadership both on and off the ice. But for me, his evolution as a player and his small game, his small area game, that he has just taken to another level. I think if you look statistically, without getting into analytics, as far as sticks on pucks and tips and being able to make plays in tight areas around the net, his game has gone to a completely different level. And that's why, in the history of the New York Rangers, which is in 98 years now, going on 100, he scored more playoff goals than anyone in the history of organization. So he's a guy that first and foremost is just a character guy, and he always saves his best for the most important times in the game, and certainly most important times of the season. But it stems from character, and he's a guy that with his speed, and he can beat you in a lot of ways, but his small area game is really, he's taken it to a completely different level.
So anytime you have success in the playoffs, you need a couple of guys to sort of take a step and produce maybe beyond what expectations were. Has Lafreniere been that guy? Like, just from the outside looking in, it seems like this guy has found a level here that people had hoped he would eventually get to.
Well, Barney, I'll tell you this. This team, it's as much as it's an incredibly talented group, and organically they've grown because of their youth, is now kind of growing into men and getting man strong, whether that's Lafreniere, Kakko, Snyder, Miller. I mean, I could go on and on about all the younger guys that you have 3 or 4 or 5 years in the National Hockey League. You've grown into your body. Mentally, you're growing into understanding the game and what it takes to have success. But the interesting part is when you look at this team, it's a team that at different points throughout the entire season have depended on different lines to step up and different players to step up at different points in their special teams. As an example, their power play. You've seen the way and I will tell you in any 7-game series, teams are going to make adjustments and you're going to make adjustments both to defend and then offensively on the reverse side of the coin, you're going to make adjustments to counteract their adjustments. So there's always that humbling factor. But this team, including Lafreniere and their lineup, they're a team that really depends on each other. And if you shut down one line, whether it's the Trocheck line, then you still have to deal with the Savannah-Jad line, and then you've got the Cooley line with Kakko. So they've got a lot of different, and even when you talk about Rempe on the fourth line, what they bring to a game with Goudreau, who is obviously a proven winner, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. So they've got a lot of different elements and certainly on their back end, you see their defense that has matured both organically because of age, but also because of experience and the number of years in the league, and they've got a little bit of everything back there. So, and then on top of that, the goaltending tandem of Shesterkin and certainly Quick, 3-time Stanley Cup champion. So they've got a team with a lot of experience, but they're also playing against a team that they respect greatly. I mean, Carolina has been a heck of a hockey team for a long time now, and their record would say that, and the way they play on a nightly basis, the way they're coached, the way they approach the game, they are full marks. They're an outstanding team led by an outstanding coach. And for me, one of the great elements is looking at the two coaches. Laviolette, is a guy that coached and won a championship with his captain, who is now, they're 1-3 in the league of 32 teams. Pretty impressive.
Certainly some great storylines. Just on Lafreniere, I'm watching him, Gravy, and he kind of reminds me, and you mentioned adjustments, and we can't forget the Eastern Conference in 1994 when Keenan bumped up Alex Kovalev up with you and Mess to turn that guarantee into a lock for us by Mess. But Lafreniere strikes me as maybe this year's version of an Alex, where he's got the skill to be a difference maker here. Do you see some similarities if we don't completely look at the skill for skill factor here?
Yeah, and I will tell you this, and this is it's a blanket statement for anyone that's ever played the game. The thousands of National Hockey League players at Bourne, Alex Kovalev, might be in the top 3 most skilled players that I have ever seen, witnessed, or we used to play keep away. And I know it's playoff time, but we used to play keep away for 10 minutes after practices all the time. Kipper would play, I'd play, Book, Joey Kosher, and there'd be some more skilled guys than us playing. But we would play keep away. And this wasn't like your regular keep away where you're just kind of stick checking and stick on puck. If you could, cream a guy into the boards, you were trying to, literally, it was the most physical keep away. And we would play for 10 minutes. And I am not exaggerating, Kip. You can jump in if I'm incorrect.
Yeah.
Alex Kovalev would have the puck on his stick for 9 of the 10 minutes. You couldn't get it off him. He would put it out in front of you.
Yeah.
He'd put it back into his skates. If you thought, oh, you know what, he was young at the time. He came to the league at 6'1", maybe 190 pounds. He finished his career at 230, 6'3", ridiculous.
But I tried to trip him on purpose, and I couldn't do it.
Or if you lined him up, he just reverse shoulder you, and you'd be down on your end. But it was ridiculous how skilled he was. But to get back to Lafreniere, there's a reason, he went, and not only his competitiveness, his physicality, there's a reason he went first overall, and he's just growing into his body. He's finding out who he is. And you know what? I think that playing with Trocheck and Panarin, that those 3 complement each other. So it's not a one-way street. It's, I think, in many ways, they've really, I think it's helped all of them in different ways. But certainly his youthfulness, and you've seen it, where he had a couple goals earlier in the series. He's a player that can be a difference maker without question. And he works extremely hard, and he's a great kid.
Hey, Gravy, that's awesome stuff. Just one more thing, and you're the co-founder of Smile Zone, and I think you guys hit a milestone today. It's a charity that does an amazing job of improving the lives of children that receive medical, whatever medical situation that they're in your health facilities. Anything you want to mention there with Smile Zone?
No, we had Paul Henderson. It was our 400th zone, and Kip, you are as supportive as any of my. Sorry, we're brothers and buddies. Kip Borny, Kyper, and I grew up together in Toronto at Seneca College Hockey School in our mid-teens, and have been buddies. And he is there every year at our. He's always there's. He never says no, and that's the gift of the game. And Borny, even last night, I was watching. I see you all the time, and I see Kip, obviously. But last night when they're talking about your dad, and I saw Ron talking, just fantastic. For me, that's the gift of the game is the people and what you can do with the game. Smile Zone is we just go into hospitals and we try to put in fun areas to put a smile on their face. And we all have kids or have had kids or deal with kids. And you know what? There's nothing more important. So for us to have this opportunity to use hockey in a small way as a platform with some of these things, Paul Henderson, as classy a man as there is, has been he's been an ambassador for over a decade. But 400 zones and growing, Kip. It was at Humber River. It was fantastic. And we look forward to many, many more. And certainly with the support of good people and good friends, it makes the journey that much more fun.
400 across Canada. Wow. Gravy, congratulations on that. Keep up the great work. The game's lucky to have you involved in it, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Great to see you guys. Well, I'll continue to watch.
Thank you.
Guys.
That is Adam Graves. What a class act.
No kidding. Wow, that's awesome. 400.
Love it. Kovalev. Nasty.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a good story of Alex Kovalev?
Oh, gosh. He was so much fun. And he's one of those guys where, like, he's a sponge. He decides to go get his pilot's license.
Kovalev.
Yeah. And he gets his pilot's license. One day he comes into the dressing room, is like, his lips are like Daffy Duck's. I'm like, did you get punched in the face? He goes, no, I'm learning how to play the saxophone. I'm like,
no way.
Oh my God, your lips are like swollen. He goes, yeah, I didn't sleep last night.
I did not see that coming.
I was playing the saxophone for like 12 hours. I'm like,
that's
what
incredible.
I love that. Great. Love that guy.
Fun fact, I played saxophone in
I
high
also
school.
played saxophone.
I own a saxophone. There's a saxophone at my house.
I wanted the saxophone so badly, but I got strings and they gave me the bass.
Oh, boring.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah, that's the worst instrument you can play.
The worst.
All right, it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 18 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So, just a couple wonderful hockey games on the ice tonight. New York Rangers in Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes are pretty huge favorites tonight. They are minus 160 favorites.
Wow.
To me, I guess they have a really big home ice advantage. They're the hotter team. That, to me, is a little bit of a fishy number. I do like the Rangers at plus 135. I do think they're the better team.
You get Shesterkin at plus 135. Tough to say no.
I wish I had the stats on like how many times even a team down 3-0 is even forced a game 7. Like it feels like it's a big task to beat a team like the Rangers 3 times in a row. And to get the Rangers at plus 135 seems like a great number to me. So that's what I'm looking at.
Hold on, before you tell us the next one, can I give you a Trocheck stat I just found while searching through their numbers?
Yes.
He leads the Rangers in ice time, their forwards in ice time. Second place is Zibanejad at 20:47. He's at 23:11. Trocheck is playing over 23 minutes. I know there's some overtime in there probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But over 23 minutes per game for the Rangers. As a forward, that's nutty.
He is, you know how I love to have my most underrated guys in the league conversation. He's actually in it.
He's leading them in shots as well.
Can you see Freddie Anderson beating Shesterkin 3 games in a row?
I know. That's why.
Picked him to win the Vezina. I'm out of my mind. Yes, I can.
That's why, to me, not the Vezina, the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Rangers, to me, that's just plus 135 is a great number. And the Edmonton Oilers are minus 150 favorites tonight in Vancouver, plus 125 for the Vancouver Canucks on the money line if you want to go that way. It's a pretty big number. And quickly before we go, Massive game in the NBA tonight. Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, Nikola Jokic just putting on an absolute show. Love him to death. Give me the Denver Nuggets on the money line, plus 115. Jamal Murray, good Canadian boy. They're going to end the series tonight and head to the semifinals in the NBA.
Do you see the Matthew Jokic about why he's been throwing the dunks down so hard? He's become a freak of nature.
I love that man. He's my favorite. Him and Anthony Edwards, my two favorite players in the NBA, and they're playing against each other. So there you go. A little NBA action for you tonight as well. That was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, what happens in Vancouver tonight?
That's quite the number on Vancouver.
Plus 125.
That they, are at home, that they were the better team, had more points in the regular season. I just feel like the Oilers are going to oil at some point. They're going to score 4 goals at some point in the game. I feel like Pickard will give up a couple. 4-3 Oilers.
I picked the Vancouver Canucks to win this series. They're going to win this series. They got to win this game. Give me the Vancouver Canucks 5-4 overtime winners tonight.
Rob Brown with a good analysis that tonight's Game 7 for Vancouver. It's interesting.
They need it. And I think they're going to win 5-4.
Yeah. I think it's going 7.
Yeah. So who's the one side Vancouver
I'll take Vancouver at home tonight, too.
Yeah.
It's funny, they're playing a game that is really taking away from the Oilers at 5-on-5. They haven't got that depth scoring, and I can see it being close. I can see it being close for sure.
Love this Vancouver team, boys. I really do. I love the squad. I love Zadorov.
Yeah. This
JT Miller.
fan base in Vancouver they're invested, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
For sure.
My boy Gaz is taking it hard, and he hasn't even been mean to him.
How about Kale McCarr, boys?
Dancing. Running.
Yeah, we didn't even mention.
Well, it's the off day for that one, but God.
Tomorrow we'll give it its proper time. But this guy he's our modern day Bobby Orr.
He really is.
Yeah, the way he skates is I know Heiskanen is an unbelievable skater too, but the way McCarr makes people miss is otherworldly.
I played one of the best, and just had gravy in Brian Leach, and I don't want to take anything away from Brian Leach, but this guy is quicker.
Well,
he just seems
McCarr's doing things
quicker,
statistically that are faster than anyone.
that even Brian didn't have.
Yeah.
It is
I'm telling you, he does
phenomenal.
that juke where he's going at guys, and it reminds me of a football running back, got a guy isolated.
He's Earl Campbell. Do you remember Earl Campbell, the running back?
No.
Well, how about we'll go with maybe Marshall Falk or
maybe Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson.
He's got running back.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Fast twitch muscles.
Yeah, and just
can
lateral
boom, boom,
movement.
boom, gone.
And he, whatever winger he turned into dust last night, he then cut back into the slot. And
that Nathan McKinnon is just, the puck lands on his stick in a sweet spot.
Yep.
They need the goal. And
Dallas is better.
And he just
but
hits
Colorado
the back of the net
those guys.
hard. There was never, when he picked that puck up at the hash marks, there was never a doubt that was hitting the mesh.
Yeah.
God, I love McKinnon.
Hey, guys, listen, before we go to before we end the show, a lot of tributes going in.
Absolutely.
For TSN host Darren Detition. We
Yeah.
got the news today that has moved on. Our condolences to the Detition family. Our condolences to our friends at TSN. I know over the years we've had this rivalry, but I assure everybody that's just there for servicing all of you for the best product that we have out there. We have got many good friends over at TSN, and we just want them to know we are as sad on this side as you are on your side as well. So
I will say, he is one of the main reasons I did this kind of stuff. Him on SportsCenter in the morning, I love Dutchie.
If you
It's
didn't know
a
him, you
crushing
still felt
loss.
like he was your buddy.
Absolutely. So glad you said that, Kip. It's an awful loss for the sports
shared
community.
condolences.
So
Sad.
there you go.
all right, 2 games on hand tonight. Enjoy them, and we're back tomorrow on Off the Rails Friday.